Welcome back to Austin Likes Race Cars. We're back here. Round one of the playoffs is over. I did my picks a few weeks ago. I was very right, by the way, so far. But I figured we'd do a little recap of round one here. I got my notes here. I got more notes here, all over the place. Figured we'd talk about the races, who got eliminated, who's still in, what happened, and then what I think is going to happen going forward. You can see over on this side here is the current chase grid, or what, playoff standings. I don't know what they freaking call it. Is it still the chase? I don't even freaking know anymore. And it may be different next year. That's all the rumblings, so we'll find out. But let's start with the beginning of round one. Darlington, Lady in Black. First playoff race of the season. You had craziness from lap one. Josh Berry bottoms out going through turn two, slides up the track, almost takes out Tyler Reddick, ends up in the wall. He's out of the race. Briscoe ended up winning stage one. Bowman had a horrendous pit stop where somehow the gun came unplugged from the air supply and they couldn't figure out, and they were throwing him like another gun, but it wasn't attached to anything. That was crazy. Blaney got spun out by Busch. Briscoe won another stage. Reddick was pretty fast, even though he almost got wiped out. And then Briscoe won it. The 19 is hot. Hot, hot. Briscoe gets a win. He gets 7 playoff points in race one, which is great. He gets, max 60 points? Which put him, one, into the second round, but well clear of the cut line at that point, which didn't matter, but he was way up there. Either way, great start for Briscoe. Terrible start for, what's that guy's name? Barry. Already forgot him. He's gone. Terrible start for Barry. And Bowman not having a great day. Second race, we go on to Gateway. Lap 36. Oh no, Josh Berry again in the wall. He was running around Logano and Elliott and ended up, I think Elliott was underneath him. He kind of tried to go around and he was trying to get in between Elliott and Logano. Ends up getting bumped, ends up in the wall. 2 straight last place finishes. Not in a good spot for the playoffs. You might be able to survive one bad race. 2 ain't it, especially not when you're starting at the bottom. I'm about to sneeze, by the way. Welcome back. We continue on with a blazing hot Chase Briscoe in the 19, winning his 4th stage of the playoffs. There had been 4 stages of the playoffs at that point. We then had my favorite moment of the race. Kyle Larson dumps Ryan Blaney. That sucks. There's a Blaney hat right up there. Really didn't want to see that. That's the second race, by the way, of these playoffs. And both of them, Ryan Blaney was spun. What the hell? Bubba Wallace winning stage 2. The Toyotas are fast. Just killing it. I was a little worried. We'll see in a little bit my predictions for the playoffs. The tiebreaker at the end was pick how many laps the leader will have led for the entire playoffs. And for some reason, I went with 160, which is an insanely low number. For anybody who is good enough to win the playoffs, they're probably going to win races and lead a lot. I may have nailed it because the Toyotas are going to win all the laps, lead all the laps. And then this guy's going to win it. But you'll find out in a minute who I picked, if you didn't already watch the other one. Then Van Gisbergen spinned. Hamlin won. Toyota had won every stage up to that point. And it was not looking good for at least Barry, Dillon, and Van Gisbergen. Bowman was down there. Didn't have a great race at Gateway either, but he was within touching distance at that moment, kind of. Then we go to Bristol just a few days ago. Tires, baby. They get eaten up. I think it was Hamlin or somebody said before the playoffs started that Goodyear had ran the tires on their sandpaper tester thing, and it was just destroying the tires. But them tires were burning up And then we get to a third consecutive last place finish for Josh Berry, who unfortunately his car caught on fire. Too much rubber all up in the car, caught a light, way too much smoke. I'm surprised that later in the race we'll see Cindric had the same thing. Cindric ended up staying in the car. I don't know how. That's crazy. We're back. Bowman spins again. That's lovely. Blaney, first non-Toyota to win a stage. He gets stage 1. Larson had some pit issues after that. He was speeding at some point. He later got damaged. But he locked himself in along with Bubba Wallace. 2 very early lock-ins for those guys. Good job to them. Van Gisbergen spins. Bowman had one hell of a run to get back towards the front. Gibbs won stage 2 just in front of Blaney, who picked up a ton of points in stages in that round. He then locked himself in. Blaney was through. Van Gisbergen spins again. Then some craziness started. Chase Elliott, coming around the outside, tries to dip down in front of John Hunter Nemechek. Still unclear as to whether Nemechek just ran over him, Hamlin pushed Nemechek into him, Elliott just got into a spot that was too small. I think the way everybody was talking, like even Nemechek kind of felt like Hamlin pushed him into Elliott, so maybe Nemechek thought he could have held back long enough to let Elliott in. I'm not sure. Either way, Elliott ended up in the wall. Elliott's out of the race. And that's, again, you can't have that in the playoffs, especially when the points are so tight. Elliott went from being probably, I think he was somewhere around 9th or so, dropped straight to the cut line. And then it was his teammate. Oh, I got the burps now. I sneezed, now I got the burps. I don't know what's going on. His teammate, Alex Bowman, ripping around the track, trying to get up to the lead. He got very close a few times, even though the tires were just burning off his car. But it inevitably was still Bowman had to win to get through. He could not have gotten enough points. Lucky for Chase Elliott that more cars were already out by the time he crashed. There was no way for Bowman to get enough points to get through. He had to win that race. Because I think had he won that race, it would have been the amount of points he needed to get through. So, if you look back, had Bowman had a shorter pit stop earlier in the thing, picked up like one more spot anywhere else in the other 2 races, Chase Elliott may have been out. But if you look over here, Elliott's still in. After that, Hamlin had an issue where he lost a tire. Cindric also caught on fire just like Berry, but he ended up being able to stay in the car and finished the race. He did end up advancing. Wallace ended up getting wrecked out, kind of. I forget how he ended up in the wall, but he ended up in the wall at some point. And then Christopher Bell, after a unhappy end to his Gateway race, ended up with the win and headed on into the next round, along with these fine gentlemen over here. Let's talk about the drivers that aren't there. We got Josh Berry, last place. Josh Berry, goodbye. That's one. That might be the worst playoff performance that there's ever been. And not even fully his fault. Like, I mean, the car was low at the start of Darlington. That sucks. It happens sometimes. I mean, they're trying to get everything, and I assume Wood Brothers was even pushing a little bit harder to find that pace. They had an incredible qualifying pace for Darlington, and I think they just pushed it that little bit too far, and unfortunately, it just ended up being the end of his race. And then, I mean, he was racing hard at Gateway, but kind of not his fault. There was some bumping and banging. He ended up in the wall. And then just a fire at Bristol. I mean, not much he could have done about that. I don't know that he would have had the points had he finished all the races to make it without, if he had just actually finished and not had all those DNFs, but it wasn't enough. He didn't make it. Number 2, a guy that a lot of people thought would make it a little further into the playoffs, Shane Van Gisbergen. did not make it through. He was eliminated. 32nd finish at Darlington, 25th finish at Gateway, and 26th at Bristol. Just not going to cut it. I know there was a lot of people that thought he got those 4 wins and he'd have enough to just get into that second round, and then maybe he wins the Roval and makes it into the 8. There was no way he's winning a championship, I don't think. He's not consistent enough at the ovals to get anywhere near it, and this proved it. I mean, you can't run mid to late 20s into the 30s and make it when there's guys at Bristol, Blaney had 19 points in the stages. Briscoe won both stages at Darlington. There's guys that were piling on the stage points, and you just can't compete with that when you're back in the 30s or the 20s. It's not something you can do in the playoffs. So, Van Gisbergen, he's gone. Next up, Austin Dillon, another guy who just kind of had he didn't have a terrible round, but 23rd at Darlington, 18th at Gateway, 28th at Bristol. He didn't factor. I thought he'd do better at Gateway than he did. He didn't really show up a ton there. He's one of those guys that I got a lucky win in there. They were really fast at one racetrack, and hey, they got in there. They got their name out there. They got their sponsors in front of people. The mic, and good on them. They're going to finish in the top 16 for the standings this season. It's going to be somewhere between 13 and 16, but that's where they're going to finish. And then the last guy that got out, kind of a terrible luck situation in some ways. Alex Bowman came so close, didn't quite get there. Darlington, he was 31st. He had that 40-second pit stop. The air gun was not connected to anything. They gave him a second air gun that was connected to even less somehow. There was weird stuff going on there. Gateway, he just didn't have a great run. And then Bristol, he fought hard, but I think he just ended up having to push too hard late and had to burn up his tires a little more than he wanted to. So close. Almost got Elliott right there at the end, but this Hendrick car is out. Bowman, please leave. And that Hendrick car is still in. Now we get to what's coming. Oh, let's look at, while we're here, we can see, hopefully you've taken a look at the standings here. I don't want to do that. Hold on, pause. There we go. You can see over there. I'm going to do it wrong every time. There. My playoff predictions. This is what I predicted. You can't see the winner yet. I just knocked over a bottle. I was fully correct here through the round of 12. Nailed it. My guys I have going out this round. Current leader, Denny Hamlin. Tyler Reddick. Ross Chastain. And somebody else. I think it's Logano. It is Logano. Yep. Logano, Chastain, Reddick, and Denny Hamlin. So the bottom 3 and Hamlin. Let's talk about them first. Here are my thoughts. Because I need to back myself up here before I tell you why I might be horrendously wrong. Starting with Tyler Reddick. He's going to start 3 points down on the cut line. He had a second at Darlington, ran very, very good. Gateway, he was 16th. Bristol, he was 15th. I think that was enough to get him through one round. I don't think that's going to work this round. I think the guys who kind of got in on a good race win, the guys like Van Gisbergen who were kind of specialists and got in like that, they're gone. I think the guys that are here now are going to get stage points, are going to be consistent and run up there. And Wallace has just been the better 2311 car, at least the first 3 races. He's been very good. I mean, maybe you could say Reddick was better at Darlington, but the last 2, it's been Wallace by a mile. Reddick was decent, but he's going to start below the cut line, so he already has points he needs to gain. The guy he needs to gain on is his teammate, and I don't think he's going to do it. You could make an argument maybe for Elliott to come back and either Logano or Reddick to make it, or I guess Hamlin, probably more likely. But I think Tyler Reddick's out, and I have to back myself up on that because I said it. Next up, we have Ross Chastain. Now the only Trackhouse car left in the playoffs. I just don't think Trackhouse has it this year. They don't seem to have the speed that they once had. They've fallen back a little bit. Van Gisbergen only got in on his road course wins. Suarez didn't win any races this year, and Chastain just got the one, I believe. Chastain finished 11th at Darlington, 24th at Gateway, 19th at Bristol. It's just that kind of middle of the road, nothing special kind of thing, and this is where that stops working. It can work for you all the way up until this point. It can get you in the playoffs. It can get you through the first round. It doesn't get you through the second round. I think Chastain, unfortunately, gone. Next up, it's not an even year. That's right. You can read it at the top of that card. Where is it? Joey Logano. He's 2 points below the cut line to start. He was 20th at Darlington, then backed it up with back-to-back fifths at Gateway and Bristol. I think it's two Penske's going through. I think it's between him and Cindric who doesn't make it. I'm going to put my money on Cindric this time. This time. Next year, it's a different story. Even year. I mean, Joey Logano all the way. But no, I don't. I think it's a year where he doesn't get it done. He barely made it through last year. I think this year it's just he's going to be just that little bit further behind, and I don't think he's going to make it through this round. He's gone. And my final elimination, starting the round 26 points above the cut line. This guy on top. Denny Hamlin. I think I just have visions. He, by the way, finished 7th, 1st, and 31st. He lost the tire at Bristol, so he will be down some crew members for New Hampshire this weekend. Could that be the beginning of the end? Nobody knows. We will soon. I have a vision of another... This time it's going to be Lee Diffie, I guess. Coming to the end of the race at the Roval. When will Hamlin will he get the championship? We're going to see the graphic, most wins without a championship. We're going to have another season where it's interview questions about when will you get it? Will you keep racing until you do? Do you think you still have a chance? Maybe questions about does Gibbs keep him? I think he said, like last weekend or the weekend before, like his next 2-year contract will be his last or something like that. Maybe his last with Gibbs, maybe his last overall. I definitely picked this before I knew he was going to be the top driver and 26 points above the cut line going into the second round. But I still think it's a possibility. Like, that team, they had the, 7th, and then first they won Gateway. The Toyotas have been super fast. But I think things like his tire coming off at Bristol are what's going to inevitably be the end of his season. I think you might see some, maybe not speeding on pit road, but over the wall too soon, loose tires, having to come back down, slow stops, maybe getting his setup a little wrong. I think you see that this round, and I think Denny Hamlin does not make it to the round of 8. So let's talk about who I do think is going to make it to the round of 8. Number 1 point below the cut line coming into the round, coming off a 12th place finish at Darlington, a 19th place at Gateway, and a fire and a 30th place finish at Bristol. Austin Cindric, 1 point below the cut line. You can see that because I held it off camera. Like I said, I think 2 of the Penskes get through. It's either him or Logano, I think, going out. I'm going to put my money on Cindric. I think he's a little better this year. I think he's been a little more consistent. And, excuse me, phone. And I think he makes it through this time. I think he just has a solid round here. And I think he's through. I don't think he's Blaney through. I don't think he's Larson through. I don't think he's Byron through. I don't think he's Briscoe through either. But I think he's through. I think it's going to be a close one. And it might even be twos on the top of the cut line, 22s on the bottom of the cut line. It may be something like that, where it's another, like the first round. It was one of the Hendricks. It was either Elliott or Bowman who was going out. Who was it going to be? So I think Cindric, I got him locked in for the next round. Next up, a man that's just on fire. Don't mind the 34th finish at Bristol. He ended up in a wall. A 6th at Darlington, an 8th at Gateway. He's 1 point above the cut line starting this round. Bubba Wallace he's on fire. I mean, that 2311 car looks fast. All the Toyotas do. His looks really fast. He locked himself in after the first round at Bristol, which is, I don't think something that most people would have guessed going into the playoffs, that Wallace would be locked in well before the end of the third race. He's 2311's always fast at Kansas. He's already won there before. I don't know about New Hampshire for him. I don't know about the Roval. I didn't pull up my stats that I had before for their finishes, but I think Wallace is going to be hot. I think he's going to be on a run. And I think Bubba Wallace is through. I think Reddick's out. I think Hamlin's out. His boss and his teammate are out. I think Bubba makes it. Give me Bubba into the round of 8. Next up, Chase Elliott. Had a tough end there, but he would have been through somewhat comfortably had he not had that little incident at the end of Bristol. Now, obviously, those things can happen, and it's hard to predict that. I think Elliott is going to get through. The Hendrick cars looked a little in that first round. 17th at Darlington, at 3rd at Gateway, so he had a pretty good run at Gateway for Elliott. 38th at Bristol. He's 5 over the cut line coming in. I think he makes it through. It might be close. It might be another one where he's right on the cut line coming down at Charlotte. But I think I'm pushing him through. The next couple are pretty easy. At 10 points above the cut line, you have, I'm going to say, the hottest man in NASCAR right now, Chase Briscoe. First, second, 9th for his first round efforts. Picked up a bunch of stage points. Jumped himself well up in, he's 10 points over the cut line right now. I think he's going on a run. I picked him through to the Final Four. He looks really good. He looks really confident. Briscoe's through easy, I think. Blaney's another one, plus 19, the cut line to start. 18th at Darlington. Couple fourths to finish out the round. He was spun twice in this round. Darlington, there were so many issues. He had a car got spun in front of him in the pit, so he had to wait and then back up and get out, so he lost a bunch of spots there. He ended up coming down into the pits, and then the caution came out right after that. He got spun by Busch at one point. So 18th wasn't terrible. It looked like he had a terribly hard time passing at Darlington, but then Gateway looked pretty fast. Still looked like he had a tough time passing, but looked really fast. Bristol, he looked really, really fast, and it was kind of a race that suited him because he's one of the best at keeping tires on the car. That's kind of what you needed to do. He was running way longer than everybody else. I like Blaney through to the next round. New Hampshire, if he can keep the tires on again, he can make some really good long runs. I can see him winning there. Penske has been fast at Kansas before. Blaney's won the Roval before, so I think it's a good round for him. I think he is through. I have him into the round of 8 pretty easy. Christopher Bell, a resurgent Christopher Bell, had some words for the team after Gateway, ends up winning Bristol. He's 20 points above the cut line coming in. I think he can hold on to that pretty easy. The Toyotas have just been so fast going into this round. I don't see any reason Bell can't do it. Mechanical failures is a reason he can't do it, but I don't know. I don't see a reason he's not. And then we got a pair of guys 24 above the cut line, William Byron, Kyle Larson. Larson went 19th, 12th, 32nd at Bristol, and that was still enough to lock him in after the first round at Bristol. Byron went 21st, 11th, 12th. I don't think he locked himself in early. I don't remember them ever saying that. So I'm a little worried about the Hendrick cars. They seem to have been a little slow. Byron had the win at, I think, was it Iowa? I think it was Iowa. Byron got the win at, and people were talking about, like, his season's turned around. Larson hasn't won in quite a while, I don't think, and he's not been super fast. Like, he had a little bit of a run there towards the end of the season where he was getting a little bit better finishes, but he's not been like himself, like lead every lap super fast in quite a while. When I made this I pointed there. When I made this playoff prediction, I had Blaney, Larson, Byron, and I believe Bell as locks through to the round of 8. I think Blaney and Bell are still there. I think Briscoe's jumped into it, and I think Wallace might have jumped into it too. Larson and Byron might be sliding out for me. I'm a little more confident in Byron than Larson right now, just because Larson's had the bigger swings to good and bad the last few races. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see a couple tough races for one of them and then being out into the next round. I'm still going to go with my gut. I got Hamlin out. I got Logano out. I got Chastain out. I got Reddick out. I mean, I can't say one of those guys is out, because if we just look behind my face real quick, my winner's William Byron. I'm rooted. I'll say this again. I picked William Byron to win the playoffs this year. I'm still rooting for Ryan Blaney. I hope Ryan Blaney wins. But I picked William Byron. So that's my pick. That's what happened in round 1. We'll come back after round 2 to talk about it more. Hopefully, we see a bunch more green right over here. I got it right that time. It took me a while to think about it. And I'm right again, and I have a perfect playoff prediction again. But we'll see. Hamlin's my big pick this time. Van Gisbergen was my big pick last time, but I don't think it was that crazy of a pick. But Hamlin's my crazy pick this time. We'll see what happens next. We got New Hampshire this weekend. After that, we've got Kansas. Oh my God. I'm dying just trying to get this out. And then we got the Roval to finish it off. For sure there's going to be chaos. For sure there's going to be some big swings. I'm excited to see what happens. This is probably the last time we ever see this form of the playoffs. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes out. In style or in flames, I don't know yet. But we'll find out. Thanks for watching this. Let me know in the comments what you think about the first round, who you think is going to win at this point, and if you think anything I said was wild and insane, because I think about 50% of it might have been. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.